Hey there friends, today we're going to talk a little bit about how rhinos don't just exist as politicians, they actually can exist amongst the voting public as well. Also, we're going to learn a few things today, and I hope you guys aren't clicking off just because you saw that we're going to learn some things today. But first up, guys, please check with my friends CMMG over at cmmg.com. These guys make a great combination of different types of weapons, different calibers, different finishes, and you can use my code FTATF. Again, FTATF is my discount code to get 10% off on their website if you're looking for parts kits, 22 conversion kits, or things like that. Great place to go. cmmg.com. Don't forget to use my discount code FTATF. Melissa Alexander wanted to make Gino Bolso feel it in his heart, in his gut. She told him her story. Her son was in his 4th grade classroom on March 27th when a shooter smashed into the school and started firing. This is the transgender shooter that shot up Covenant School, by the way. They won't mention that in this story because this is a liberal rag. He stood silently against a wall with other children, feet away from the killer. He heard the shots that killed 3 of his 9-year-old schoolmates and 3 adults. He saw his friends dead on the ground, she told Bolso. Gosh, whispered the Republican lawmaker, a father of 5. Oh gosh. Alexander is amongst thousands of brand new Tennessee activists, largely led by mothers who are pleading with the state legislature to pass stricter gun laws during a special session called for by the governor and scheduled to begin on Monday. Now, this is a rhino. This lady right here and I have no problem with people who have money, but this is a rich white lady whose child went to a very affluent school. Again, nothing wrong with that. But she's got way too much time on her hands. Apparently somebody else is cooking and making the sandwiches because she's got way too much time on her hands. She clearly is not a conservative. This is my point about being a rhino, Republican in name only. She probably votes mostly Republican because that's how she feels. But she's clearly not a conservative. There's a huge difference between a conservative person and a person who strictly votes Republican. They are not the same. During this long article from the Post, she talks about how pro-Second Amendment she is. But guess what? We go right back to the people who misunderstand and misinterpret, for some reason, that if they grew up hunting, that qualifies them as a Second Amendment activist. Well, no, it doesn't. The Second Amendment has nothing to do with hunting. So you can hunt literally every single day of your life and not be a proponent of the Second Amendment. They don't exist in the same space. They may share a commonality because both of them actually have something to do with a firearm, but they clearly are not the same. You do not hold the same position simply because you are a hunter, as I do as a Second Amendment rights activist, and most of you guys out there who are watching this right now. So this chick tells the politician she's talking to, I just want to find a way, Gino, she said, leaning in. We need to make it safer for our kids. Okay, what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to show you a couple of little things that tells me this lady is disingenuous. First of all, her child was in the class that the trans shooter killed people in. This person shot glass through a doorway. That's how they entered. The school was not hardened. Nobody's questioning that. This Republican lady is not questioning that. She's talking about guns. She wants stricter gun laws. She's talking about just finding something to do. In my book, How to Make a Monster, I did the work that people like this lady won't do. I asked the questions. I did the research. I didn't put my hair in a ponytail and go up there to look pretty in front of people to try to convince them to vote a certain way. I put ideas together. In my 2nd chapter, Root Cause Analysis, I actually talk about how you arrive at deciding what a problem is and determining what that problem is and figuring out how you eliminate it from happening again. And one of the biggest things I learned from a Fortune 500 company that I worked for years ago was root cause analysis. And within that root cause analysis, you do something that's called the 5 whys. I think if you've gone through any kind of Six Sigma type classes or whatever, leadership classes or whatever, you've probably done this. The 5 whys are one of the simplest but most effective ways of determining what a problem is. You simply ask why until you get to the root cause of your problem, and then you work to eliminate that. A good example is a person ran through a red light. Okay, why did they run through that red light? Late for work. Why were they late for work? They woke up late. Why did they wake up late? The alarm didn't work. Why didn't the alarm work? Exhausted battery. Why was the battery exhausted? Here's the root cause. I forgot to check it. So I had this person checked this battery on the alarm. None of these other things would have happened. You wouldn't have had to ask why. They would have gotten up on time. They would not have had to run the red light because they were late for work. Another really good example is customers are mad in a restaurant. Why are the customers mad? The service is slow. Why is the service slow? Food orders are late. Why are the food orders late? Chef isn't cooking. Why isn't the chef cooking? He's busy washing dishes. Why is he busy washing dishes? He ran out of plates. The root cause of this problem is dirty plates. If they didn't have dirty plates, the chef would be cooking and all the meals would be, guess what? On time. This is extremely important, and this chart right here is going to explain to you why this is so very, very, very important. This is just not some futile exercise that you go through to have a little bit of fun. I granted that most workshops at businesses are a complete waste of time and money. This one was not that I took. If you look to the far left, identify the cause, not just the symptoms. Dig deep and find the underlying issues that led to the problem rather than using a quick fix solution or playing the blame game. That's what the wackos on the far left and this newly anointed anti-gun Republican mom are doing. They're not looking for the symptoms, they're playing the blame game. They have their head in the sand. They are ignoring all the very obvious symptoms that we have already talked about on this channel, that we had a trans shooter. They won't show us the manifesto, so a lot of your whys are going to be in that manifesto, right? But this person clearly had mental issues. Nobody's asking those whys. If we use these 5 whys, they would take us right back to the shooter, and they would take us right back to the things that made that shooter arrive at that moment where they decided they needed to take other people's lives. If you look over at the second little block right there, perform an evidence-based analysis. Don't assume or jump to conclusions about the source of the problem. Make sure you have proof that it's the cause every step of the way. This would be a really helpful slide if the anti-gun movement would actually look at it. I can promise you that some very smart people put this slide together, and I don't mean people who have pretty paper hanging on their wall that say they came from a really prestigious college. I'm talking about people like you and I who use logic and reason to try to determine what a problem is and eliminate it. So we have a newly christened anti-gun mother over here, pretty soon to be wearing a red shirt. And a real quick side note I'd like to point out, if she hasn't already started her own anti-gun organization, because clearly she's seen how profitable that line of work is, you stoke fear in the minds of people out there that guns are a problem. You actually don't try to fix the problem, so the problem never goes away. So it's a vicious cycle that continues to perpetuate itself. So it can't go away. If you never use the 5 whys to determine what the problem is, means you can't fix the problem, so the problem will never go away. So you will always have a certain amount of revenue or income coming in because you're stoking that fear to get people to pay donations to your business. If this lady has not already started her own anti-gun organization, my guess is she's either getting paid or she will be getting paid very, very soon from one of the red shirt companies out there that are anti-gun and anti-American. So look for her to get way more involved because she's showing her hand, especially with stuff like this. You know, she takes that whole stance like your John Carnans do, that I'm pro-gun, I hunt. Then they go in here and talk about these things that they would like to have happen. Most, like Alexander, this is the lady's name, are not seeking to ban any particular type of weapon or emulate the more restrictive policies of a state such as California. Instead, they're advocating changes that they say they believe will uphold the rights of gun owners while helping us to make mass shootings less likely. Well, that is a false statement. When you say they believe will uphold the right of gun owners, and then you follow that up with these reasons, universal background checks for gun purchases, that means outlawing private sales. That's all that means. We have background checks for new gun owners who are buying new guns from FFLs and stores and retail outlets. What they're talking about here is make it illegal to trade, give, loan, or sell a gun to somebody without having to pay for a background check. Also, safer gun storage requirements. They want it to be against the law if you do not lock your firearm up in the privacy of your own home. Again, I want you to go back and see they said rights of gun owners, that they will uphold the rights of gun owners. Remember that in the back of your head when you hear all these. And of course, the final one is probably the worst one, clearly of all. This is the bane of my existence. If I could get rid of any even thought of this third one, I would do it. Extreme Risk Protection Orders, also known as red flag gun laws. This, of course, is where you can petition, pretty much anybody can petition the state or the court system to get guns confiscated. Let's say I'm cutting my grass and my neighbor doesn't like me and I blow a little bit of grass onto their driveway as I'm cutting. They tell me something, I tell them F off. They could call and tell the court system that I threaten to shoot them. Oh, Paul's a gun guy. I see him on YouTube all the time or on Fox 29 over here all the time, and he's always got guns. Now he said he wanted to shoot me. All it takes is that call right there. And then they confiscate all of my firearms, and then they tell me, after they kick my door in at 2 a.m. in the morning and taking all my guns, why they did all that. I got no due process. Yeah, I got due process after the fact, but I don't get it to defend myself. So I'm guilty until I prove myself innocent. That's what this pro-Second Amendment Republican wants you to believe, that she's pro-Second Amendment, but she supports these things right here that are all clearly anti-gun and have nothing to do with protecting the rights of anybody regarding the Second Amendment. Now again, pointing to this lady clearly not being pro-Second Amendment, she knows many Republican lawmakers are focused on school safety measures. Apparently she doesn't believe in that. The legislature in April approved about $140 million to hire an armed security officer in every school, public school, and $7 million for officers in private schools. She said she thinks that's a good idea, but feels it is a way of reacting to school shootings, not preventing them. Okay, let me back up. So she thinks that making private gun sales will help to prevent them, right? It wouldn't have prevented the Covenant shooting where her son witnessed. She thinks that requiring safe gun storage would have prevented the Covenant shooting where her son was. It would not have. It was not related. This was an adult. This person had control of their own firearms. And she thinks red flag gun laws would have prevented the Covenant shooting. I can't say that it would or would not have, because the trans shooter was clearly wacko, and I think there were signs of it. But I'm here to tell you, I don't care how sick and twisted some nutbag is who's pretending to be a different gender. They still have constitutional rights. And you cannot void the due process that that person has coming to them just because you think they're crazy. I'm going to say this loud and clear, and I've said it before, and I want you people to listen to me. If you have not committed a crime and you are not a proven danger to society, none of your constitutional rights should and can be taken from you. You can't lock everybody up that you have a hunch on. You can't do that. You cannot throw the baby out with the bathwater. You cannot say that every single person out there who has not committed a crime is suspect because they might commit a crime. That's just not how it works. There's people with weird dispositions. There's people with weird personalities. There's people that have bad social skills. Just because they come off gruff, unfriendly seeming, does not mean that they're a bad person and they're likely to go shoot a school up. Now, a further example, this lady knows nothing about the gun community and the culture of the gun world. She goes to the Tennessee State House to lobby. A security officer explained that anyone with a gun permit, is allowed to carry a handgun into the building as long as it remains concealed. All permits are checked there. The Covenant moms traded worried looks. This legislative office building is where they will come to observe and may testify during the special session. There could be guns all around them, and people are going to be angry. It spooked them. These are some stupid chicks. They should be making fresh sandwiches, biscuits, something like that. Maybe piling food into a crock pot. I don't know. Because they clearly know nothing about the gun culture. They don't realize that all these people with these permits in Tennessee have all been vetted more than these crazy women have. So these schizophrenic housewives here have had less vetting than the people that they're afraid of who are carrying guns into the State House, who the FBI and the state has already vetted and said these people are good to go. Folks, I'm all about lobbying for your cause. I think that it's an American right. It's a beautiful thing that we have that First Amendment, that we can speak out openly and loudly for whatever cause that we stand for. I think that's a very beautiful thing. That's one of the things that makes America so beautiful. There's plenty of people that come in my comment section down below and harass me, troll me, or whatever. I don't delete them unless they put something in there about my family and, threatening my family directly, because it's their First Amendment right to speak. I could easily delete their comments and block them, but I don't do that because I feel like this keeps the discussion going. I love when we have a discussion. But I also don't think women with pretty faces should automatically be taken seriously just because they have pretty faces. I have an ugly face. I want people to take me just as seriously as this sweet looking chick right here. I think this woman is getting credibility and people are talking to her just because she's easy on the eyes. I think if she was some Hilda looking wildebeest like Sheila Jackson Lee or something like that, nobody would give her the time of day because she seems ignorant and stupid. But nevertheless, she's outspoken. Again, I say this because I want people to understand. This is very important to me. Just because you have somebody who voted for Trump or who voted for Bush or who voted for Reagan, who says that they're a Republican, do not put your faith in them thinking that they're going to vote the way you want them to. Do not put your faith in them that they have your back when it comes to Second Amendment issues. Because clearly this woman right here is trying to speak on behalf of Republican people, a quasi-conservative, as she's trying to act like she's a Second Amendment supporter, and clearly she's not. Easy on the eyes? Yeah. But going to back us up, support us? Nope, clearly not. She's a turncoat. She'll be wearing a red shirt very soon.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
He's so horrible.